So, welcome back to the R34 Resto. I think we've come quite a way since the last video. Can't quite remember exactly where we were, but so the sealer's done now. The underside's 90% there. Factory style seam sealer. So we've tried to replicate the finish for one, and also the pattern to the best I can. Obviously I took lots of reference photos at the start, so we've got good references for the different patches. So I'm not sure Reagan can get this, but as you can see from this picture, the side on the left is almost completely covered in seam sealer, and the side on the right, small patches. Now, every car that I've seen, every R34, every Skyline, they're all totally different. There's no matching cars, and my assumption for that is that you've got different guys on the factory floor working, and you might even have one guy each side of the car. So one guy will be doing the left side, one guy will be doing the right side. And I've seen factory footage of old 911s from, say, the 70s, 80s, and it's a very similar thing, very similar underseal. So you might look at it and think it doesn't offer much protection, which you're probably right. In real terms, it probably doesn't, which is why a lot of them are very rusty. With these cars, we're in the game of restoration, not resto mods. So if a customer wants a resto mod and they want to paint the underside of the car and have it all high gloss, all flat and lovely, it can be done. But that's not what we're aiming for with this one. So you'll see the beige sealer as well around some of the seams. Now from the factory, in places this was just a bead of sealer, or it was brushed. So we try and replicate that where possible. And then we do a few little other things to try and aid in the longevity as well, but by also trying to keep it discreet. So I can show you, so along here, you'll see, obviously this is a separate panel to the floor pan, this chassis rail here. This join isn't sealed from the factory. There's lots of other seams like that all over the car. So we want to seal it because we don't want rust creeping out of those edges. So instead of putting an obvious bead, we'll put some in, wipe it away so it's a real flush, almost invisible. Retains the factory look, but you're getting a little bit extra protection, a little bit more sealed up. Once the car's done, it will all have a clear wax. But yeah, that's the aim with these cars. I'll show you the engine bay, because the engine bay is now black. So I'll lower the car down and we'll have a little look. So I've lowered the car down. Well, hopefully you've seen in our reels the engine bay with the beige sealer and the sort of greeny beige background e-coat colour. And it looks quite stark and in your face, just because of the contrast and just the way it looks. But now it's all black, obviously you can see it all blends in. And it's nice and factory looking. It's a semi-gloss. You might notice on some original cars, you'll see it might look a little bit metallic, especially around the strut top areas. And that's because when the car's painted in the factory, from what I can tell, from the overspray patterns, because I can't actually find any factory footage really of these being produced. So if anyone's got any links for those, that would be lovely. But you'll see a bit of a metallic on the black, and people often think it's a metallic black, but in actual fact it's the metallic overspray from the outer body panels being painted. That's my belief. I wasn't in the factory when it's done, but that's what it looks like to me. So that's what we'll try and replicate. I mean, the most obvious example is this panel here that's bolted on, just to give me the line of where the black goes to, is obviously painted. The engine bay is painted with this on. As you can see, this edge is black. Now, I haven't actually painted that black. That's the factory black. And the wing then bolts to this bracket. So you can see clearly the bracket was fitted to the car when it was painted black, and the wing, the inside edge of the wing is also black, and then got blue over it. So that's the reason for that. Still got a lot to do, lots of parts to get through. The engine needs the refurb. Yeah, we've got seats are being retrimmed, everything. So yeah, lots to be getting on with, and lots to update you on. The seam sealer's got quite a rough edge. So it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but they weren't the prettiest thing in the world from factory, and we want to try and keep it that way. So it's not the easiest thing to replicate. You need the right equipment for it, the right spray sealer gun, and it's very temperamental, and it's very difficult to keep it a consistent finish. So every car we do, it's always going to be slightly different, the same as our at the factory with this gun. But once you've got your setting for the car and you're happy with it, and you've done your spray outs and the car itself is consistent. The underside, we try and keep it as original as possible, but there are a few little things extra that we're doing to try and give that a little bit more longevity. So something that is really common on these are these brackets for the rear diffuser, or under tray if you want to call it that. They always rust. I've had to make new ones. So these are for the bumper, and these two are for the diffuser. So I've had to make 4 on each side. And they always go, they always rust because they're just made of nothingness. So there's no seam sealer on them from factory, nothing like that. So we've got a good coat of epoxy on them, we've got a good coat of top coat paint in this satin colour, and then I've put some sealer around the weld, around the seam, in a similar style to the factory brushed paint. Now it's all behind the bumper. I mean, you'd have to be really, really picky to pick that out, but it's just one of those things that I've just made them. I don't want them to rust, and I'm sure the owner doesn't want them to rust. So it's just little things like that. And then in the front wheel arch, if you come to the near side, they're really prone to rusting, and every one that we've restored has always gone in this area, and that's up here in the wheel arch. Now the wheel arch liner sits on there, against there, and it rubs. And I've seen really original factory cars where I've taken the under trays and the wheel arch liners out, and the paint's missing where it's touching. Now you can imagine you've got an under tray and that piece of metal with a gap in between, and you get condensation, you get moisture build up, and because it's rubbed away the paint, it starts to rot. I've replaced a piece there and made that panel. So again, I don't want that to rust. I don't want it to break through again and it be a problem ever again. So you don't see it, it's underneath the wheel arch. But I've put a coat of seam sealer on there in the same style as a factory, just to add as another barrier between the metalwork, the wheel arch liner, so that it won't rub through, it won't rust. If you've got a car, you've got a Skyline, you've got an Evo, need some restoration work, give us a call, email, message the socials, like, subscribe. I think that's it for this update, so I'll see you on the next one.